Hi, and welcome to episode 16 of One Game Dad. I'm the proverbial One Game Dad, Gregory Palaci. And today, it's Twisted Traditions because, what else? It's another day of Destiny. In this case, it's got the Dawning, which is their winter holiday event. And so that means it's the winter holidays. And the winter holidays also means that I'm celebrating the winter holidays. In this case, Christmas. Not that I'm religious, but it's the standard one. And being married to someone from a different country, a different culture, she has her own traditions. I have mine. And, now that we have a family, and more so than previous years, we're really having to start combining these things. I mean, the kid's still young enough that none of it really matters because she's not going to have a memory of it. So there's nothing firmly set in place. But, we have begun talking about, okay, what do we incorporate from one another's culture in terms of gift giving and trees, etc. And this year we don't have much in terms of decorations, in part because the kid's 11 months and destroys everything. So having a standing tree would be a disaster. So it's, for our sake, for the sake of the house, I'm not opening, we're not setting a tree up. That's not to say we don't want to have a Christmas tree or anything like that, but it's, it's just something we have to consider. And there's also gifts. Having them on the floor is not the smartest choice, in part because, again, she could get to them and just tear into them. And then there's the cat, who just destroys everything to begin with. So, this year it's a pretty mundane setup. Sorry. But that's not to say in future years it won't be more festive. But, being a third culture kid, being the parent to one, there's always going to be a certain amount of, I would say, incorporation, change to what we're doing in terms of the holidays, or what we like, what we do. But it's not, none of it's firmly set in stone, set in the ground. I mean, things can be set in ground. But, okay. My point being is that we're still a young family, our kid's young. Our life here in Finland isn't necessarily something that's always going to be the way it is. There's a good chance we will move at some point in the future. And that is a good thing and a bad thing. I mean, moving certainly testing, but it's that ability to then incorporate new ideas, to you know, encounter different cultures and see how they celebrate Christmas, see what you like, is a good thing to my mind. I mean, it's also one that we are privileged to do, and it's, but at the same time, you know, one of the things I've really found with traditions of all sorts is it's a double-edged sword, because a tradition is something that definitely binds people together, but it is also something that can be used to exclude people, and that's not it's not something I like. It's you know, the being moving as much as I have, getting to be a part of different places, you know, getting to partake in, you know, their festivities is fantastic. And it's disappointing when those very things that we, you know, we claim are for binding us together are used to exclude people. And you know, you see this with lots of different things. I mean, this is you know, people. This is why people join clubs or organizations. You know, they want to feel special, and those traditions are part of it. And it's great. That helps us identify with one another. That helps us feel connected. But is it so necessary to do so in such a way that people can't, you know, just can't belong, can't be part of the fun, can't, you know, identify or just enjoy the possibilities? And of course, this then comes into the idea of culture and ownership, and that's all very tricky. Some really tricky stuff to talk about, especially being white, cis, straight, middle class male. Did I miss anything? Well, basically, I'm part of the patriarchy, and it's like, I'm not to say I'm complaining about not getting to take part in anything, because yes, there are people's cultures, and who am I to say what people can and cannot do? But at the same time, I think there should be some thought into what that means when you are saying that if you're not part of this culture, you can't do something. That level of exclusion, but it's how quickly it can become something that is, I don't know, used to discriminate. Not that people do, but there's... Okay, here's a prime example. Here in Finland, there students upon graduating from high school, gymnasium, or whatever you want to call it, generally receive a hat, and it's kind of a sailor's hat.
May I suggest discouraging them?
But it's something that not everyone receives, and the hat is markedly different if you're a Finland Swede from just a Finn. If you're, you know, going to a particular type of school, the shape of it is different. Like, there are all these signifying factors to it. But there's very much this thing of, oh, you only get it if you went to school here, and that's fair enough. But you know, as an immigrant, you know, celebrating Valborg, you know, first of spring, you're readily identifiable because you are without the same attire. And, well, that sucks. That you don't have this badge, as it were, that says, hey, I'm here, I'm taking part in these festivities. Like, I can, you know, point to these stains and say, oh, I got this then and there from doing this, or getting, I mean, it's all basically about getting drunk. But it's still, it's a noticeable line. And okay, yeah, I could go buy one and just wear one. And do I think anyone would question me on it? No, some people may look at me oddly, but when I was interning at Ulla, the Finnish state broadcaster, as part of my integration program, you know, I was there during Valborg, and I asked about this, like, is it okay if, you know, immigrants were to have one of these hats? Like, say they're going to an integration course like it were, and upon completing it, they received one. You know, in a sense, you have gone through a school system of a sort. You are trying to integrate, to be Finnish, and this is a large part of being Finnish. And it prompted a large debate there within the newsroom, because people were of some really divided opinions about it, but as to whether or not that was acceptable or not. And
a conflict that's directly
there was never any consensus, and there's never going to be when it comes to culture, because no...
Gone. Bay lost. Bastion fallen. Huh.
There's no single person owns a culture. There's very little indirect gatekeepers that, you know, one can say unequivocally, yes, you, if you meet these criteria, you can now partake in such events, in such traditions. And so yeah, it's interesting to me to see these things because not everyone there in that newsroom had had received it because of their different backgrounds, but they were all Finns. They are all Swedish speaking Finns. And as a minority group goes, like they're generally quite inclusive. But unlike this one thing, there was some fight in terms of what was acceptable. And so I just found that interesting. And Christmas is, well, Christmas being such a hybrid event, hybrid holiday, is to my mind always going to be one of those times where people are going to be asking and wondering what is acceptable, what is what do you take on, what don't you? Because there's no, it's already incorporating pagan beliefs, it's incorporating Christian and well, Judeo-Christian beliefs. It always also takes on local beliefs. It's not just this panopticon that is American culture diffusing into everything. I mean, okay, Santa Claus being, hate to tell you kids, but largely a corporate take on what is what is an amalgam of various cultures, ideas and beliefs and saints. So it's yeah. It's just something I've been thinking about, especially now that, I have a kid and we have to think about, okay, what sort of traditions are we going to introduce and our family or have, because we're not a religious family. So that that context isn't there. But at the same time, she is still part of Finland, Swedish, American culture. And so she's going to need to take part in certain things or be aware of or will want to take part in them. And we're going to want her be comfortable with them. But at the same time, there's things within our family that we want her to have to, make her feel like this is something special. And again, it's that dividing line. Like, oh, this is ours, this is not yours. And it's just, yeah, it's something I've been thinking about. I've talked with the wife about it some. Not that we've come to any major conclusions in this regard, but we have a couple of things that we'd each like to do when it comes to kids and what holidays, and ultimately whatever we do is going to be a mixture of our cultures, which is, to my mind, a fantastic thing. That's just the way of the world. Like, culture is nebulous to begin with. There is no dividing line. I mean, it's really hard to come up with a dividing line. I don't believe there ever really is a dividing line between one culture and another. Language may be the most concise, the easiest way, but it's not all there is to a culture. Finland Swedes are a great example. Here are people who are ethnically Finns, but whose mother tongue is something else entirely. And so, yeah, these are just things to consider. I wonder how many people have really stopped to think about where their traditions come from, what they do. You always have those few people that get up in arms about, people claiming like, oh, Christmas is, it's a pagan holiday, the Christians took it over, and the Christians being like, no, it's not, we're celebrating the birth of Jesus. And, well, you have all that fun stuff to deal with. It's yeah. That is definitely a consideration. But at the same time, no holiday, no tradition is an island unto itself. You're not going to find traditions and holidays that are unlike anything else. Things get diffused through use, through the movement of people, the interactions of cultures. And, particularly now with this very global world, that's a big thing to consider.
Fallen mining expedition is on its way. May I suggest discouraging them?
And so it's just, that's what's been on my mind as we approach Christmas. And it's, well, nothing of any great importance, but it is, that's something I thought I would share with you, the listeners, the watchers, the readers, because as a parent, I do, as in the consumption of any type of media, I do think you also need to have some consideration for what you're doing, what those traditions mean, what you're asking of your family when you're...
If I'm reading this right, there are other gardens, like black gardens. I couldn't tell if they were being built or
when you're
already
raising your
destroyed.
kids. So
What does
it's...
it mean?
Yeah, it's just something to think about, something that I've been thinking about. And, yeah. What happens in the future, I'll let you know. But in the meantime, I hope you have happy holiday. Because, yep, there's more than one at this time. So, happy holidays. Or whatever you celebrate. Why you celebrate. I hope this winter or summer, if you're in the southern hemisphere, goes well for you. I hope the new year brings good change to your life. Otherwise, thank you for watching and listening. I've been Gregory Palaci, One Game Dad. Please share and subscribe, like and review on whatever platform you come across my work. And you can find all of it at onegamedad.com. You can also find my work at youtube.com under One Game Dad. You can find it on Twitch. You can find it on Twitter and Medium, and of course Patreon. I'm everywhere. Thanks
This complex
again,
is specifically
and
attuned to exo programming.
I'll see you
But why
on the
would
next
Vex have
episode.
access to...
Have a great one.
It must be Cade.